Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, delighted to have you this late afternoon, doing some specific broadcasts here because I want to make a point. And it's a particular point that I think needs to be said and made, particularly in light of the killing of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health, and the devaluing of life that we are seeing in this country. And it's been sparked by a lady named Lynn. She called the show yesterday and said she didn't think it was a coincidence that so many countries are where people have devalued life, and particularly among the American left, since the legalization of abortion in this country. You see this devaluing of life where a CEO can be gunned down in New York City, and people say, well, you shouldn't kill people. But in fact, Joy Reid of MSNBC is one of the latest people to do the but.
Almost immediately after news broke that United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson had been killed, people began posting their frustrations with United Healthcare and other insurance companies online. Many reactions included horror stories about being denied care, including United Healthcare denying anti-nausea medicine for a pediatric patient on chemo. Now, murder is always wrong, full stop. We cannot emphasize that enough. But that truth can also exist with another truth.
But murder is always wrong. But that truth can always exist with another truth. Of all the people, David Frum was on CNN. Let me play this.
I don't know that we've had any real social trend. Or it's just it becomes we have created this fantastic technology for the diffusion of sociopathic messages, and maybe there's a constant number of sociopaths in society at any given time. It's just easier now for them to find each other. But really, there's a murder by. The motives for murder are never that interesting because murderers are just murderers. And the message, some in Congress have defended the message, you can only push people so far. That is the thing that every estranged husband says before murdering his wife and children. The alimony pushed me so far and I killed. Killers kill because they're killers.
Killers kill because they're killers. They devalued life. The but from Elizabeth Warren the other day on Joy Reid's show, no less, that you can only push people so far before they act. It is something killers say. The taking of a human life is wrong. Period. End of story. Life is valuable. All life is valuable. And that leads me into something I want to play for you. It circulated on social media, and it's worth showing you a part of this. This is a young lady in Great Britain on Channel 4 out of London. She is neurodivergent, they say, that, which is a fancy way of saying she is highly autistic. Highly autistic. And she can't make eye contact. She has to be led to a piano in a public setting. And I want you to watch part of this, again, from Channel 4 in United Kingdom.
It's a big step coming up to the piano. Ready? Big step. Good girl. Well done. Come and sit down in the middle. Down. Sit down. That's just right. Find the pedal.
We should say that often at the end of a performance,
Yes.
Lucy covers her ears.
She likes the applause, but she doesn't like the sound of the applause.
Yes.
So her fingers go in her ears for sensory reasons.
Yes, I don't have to tell people not to.
She loves applause.
Okay, fine.
100%.
Ready? In a minute, you're going to play Nocturne in B flat minor by Chopin. Just start playing. See? Here we go.
She's not even looking, her head going back and forth as if she's saying no into the air. No paper, no sheets of music, all in her mind. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is a severely mentally disabled child, severe autism, and she's able to do that. I was talking about this on radio earlier. Said it reminds me of Psalm 139. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Fearfully and wonderfully made. This girl to us looks severely autistic and looks incapable of doing anything, and yet put her in front of a piano and she can make that wonderful music. Without notes, without a sheet of music, she just does it. She doesn't look at the keyboard. She looks up, turning her head back and forth. Fearfully and wonderfully made for reasons we don't know. We don't understand why. And yet, so many people would devalue her life and say she's deformed. In some countries, she could be killed with no penalty for the parents. It is not a coincidence, I think, to the point of the caller yesterday, Lynn, that as this country and Western societies have devalued life, we've embraced abortion and euthanasia, while at the same time saying that someone who willfully murders someone can be on death row for the rest of their life, fed by the state and never actually killed. You know, when God gets Noah and his family out of the ark in Genesis, what does he tell Noah? If any animal or human being takes the life of a man, spills the blood of a man, their blood must be spilled. You shed the blood of man, your blood must be shed. Why? Because when you devalue a human life so much that you're willing to kill an innocent human being, you must be killed and get your genes out of the gene pool because you devalue life. And instead, what do we do now? We kill the innocent children and the elderly, and we allow the murderers to live at taxpayer expense for the rest of their lives because we don't value life anymore. Yes, when you value life, you are supposed to execute those who do not. And in the New Testament, it's very clear it is the part of the state. The state does it. Vengeance is God's, not ours. He takes care of it, and oftentimes through the state. We know that Luigi Mangione allegedly killed Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, and was not even insured by United Healthcare. And now we learn that his back surgery was a success. He wasn't in pain. What he was on psychedelic drugs. We're hearing more and more stories of people on psychedelic drugs having a severe turning point of some kind, not healthy for society. This kid appears to be one of the latest people to go down that rabbit hole. And it messed him up. His family was trying to reestablish contact with him, and he didn't. We now know, while the FBI said he wasn't a threat, San Francisco police say actually 4 days before the murder of Brian Thompson, they were raising alarms trying to look for the kid, thinking that they had reason to believe he was a threat. We don't value life anymore in this country, and so people on the left who are most supportive of abortion and euthanasia can look at the CEO of United Healthcare and say, screw you, you shouldn't be killed by this guy. But hey, I get it. And the next step is you should be killed because you're bad. You know, Christians for a very long time have been ridiculed for their stance on life. Do you know where the word abori comes from? Abortion comes from? It comes from abori. From Rome, it was used as slang for the trash heaps of Rome. The families in Rome, the pagan families of the Roman Empire, would take their deformed children and the children they did not want, and they would place them on the trash heaps so they would die. Post-birth abortion was done on the trash heaps of Rome called the Abori, and the Christians would go rescue the babies from the Abori, rescue them from the abortion, and raise them as their own. And that was one of the reasons Christians were persecuted, because the early Christians were very pro-life. The early Christians would rescue the children. Why? Because they were formed and knitted together in their mother's womb by God Almighty himself. They were fearfully and wonderfully made, even when deformed. We don't know why God decided to allow birth of a child who was deformed, but he did. He allowed the birth of this child who had all sorts of issues, and we've been marveling at her piano skills. All of us are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when we begin to devalue life, we begin to sow the seeds of justification for murder. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and he separated the waters from above and below, and the dry land from the sea, and the rains from above. And when he decides to undo it all, it's in exactly reverse order. This water from below comes up, the water from above comes down, it begins to rain, and the dry land and the sea unite together into water. You know, in the beginning in Genesis 1, the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters of the earth. They had no concept of nothing. The concept of zero was invented after Genesis was written. Whether you believe it's Moses or someone else who wrote Genesis, when writing, the concept of nothingness did not exist. So they couldn't fathom at the time that there was something that came and it was nothing, a void. And so what came before the desert? Well, water, obviously, because water symbolized nothingness. So what the Spirit of the Lord is hovering over really is a void over nothing, but they didn't have a concept for nothing, so it was symbolized as water. And so what happens with Noah, the nothing comes back, the void comes back. And when dry land is reestablished and Noah and his family come out of the ark, what does God say? Don't spill the blood of innocent human beings or you must be executed. Why? Because otherwise you would allow people to continue on who devalued life. And in the New Testament, Jesus makes it very clear vengeance is God's, and use the state as your means of dispensing justice. What Luigi Mangione allegedly did is a sin, taking the life of another, shedding an innocent person's blood. And the fact that the left is going through extraordinary abstractions to justify the murder of the CEO, claiming he was not innocent, shows you just how devalued life has become on the left. We should not devalue life. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. There are countries like Iceland now that are incentivizing women to have abortions if their child might have Down syndrome. You know, those tests aren't entirely accurate. I know plenty of people who the test said that their child would have Down syndrome and their child was perfectly fine. And they were pressured by the medical community to abort the child. Have you ever known someone with Down syndrome? They're wonderful human beings, fearfully and wonderfully made. They bring a smile to your face. They're the happiest, nicest people. And too many people look at them and immediately see burden. Too many people look at this young lady who can marvelously play the piano and see burden. And too many people can look at a healthcare CEO who was raised in poverty, raised himself up from the poor through the middle class to become the CEO of a major company. And they can look on him and say evil. Why? Because they don't like the job he did. All of us are wonderfully and fearfully made, and we should remember that, particularly here at Christmas. We should remember that. And we should challenge those on the left who can justify a killing and ask them why they devalue life so much. And when they say this CEO devalued life so much, how do they know? They know because of the decisions the company made, decisions that the government would make if the government were in charge. Would that be devaluing life as well? Because the whole existence of insurance claims in many cases is to deny claims they think are improper. And if this company did not exist, some bureaucrat in government would be doing it too. And at the same time, concurrently, it's not just the life of the CEO they devalue the lives of a young lady who could play the piano, a child who has Down syndrome, or an unwanted child. Christians have got to stand for a culture of life. Culture of life matters. And we should note that as Western society and totalitarian regimes devalue life, things go horribly, horribly wrong. Euthanasia and abortion are symptoms of a devaluing of life in the West. And we can package it and gussy it up as choice and as liberty and as comfort and as not anchoring people and shackling people and burdening people. Life is not a burden. There are times when it can be burdensome to deal with lives, but a human life is not a burden. A human life is someone knitted together in their mother's womb, fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's something all of us at all times should remember. And it will increasingly be what sets people of faith apart from everyone else, that we believe life is valuable. And it is.